Let's start it.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. I'm going to explain, and Quinn is here with me, how to make a character. And if you go online to look this up, it's really confusing. There's a lot of interesting jargon. So we're going to break it down. Jack style. This is already so cringe. Here we go. So, if you look at this book,
It's a player's handbook.
and it's insane, okay? And it's crazy.
Just text and text.
And it's not fun to look at. So, if we're making a character, right? Let's say I'm making a character. Personally, me, I like to start first by thinking, what do I want to play as? Maybe I want to play as a fun guy that loves to bake, and he's aspiring to become a famous baker. Or maybe I want to become the most powerful wizard in the world. Okay? It's just come up with a concept. Or maybe you want to play a gnome that loves to tinker. Okay? There's easy ways to get around this. Think of a race and build from there. Think of a class and build from there. So those are pretty.
So Jack, what are the races we can play as?
Well, it's all of the common fantasy races that you would recognize, okay? Here we have a dwarf lady, right? A dwarf, we all know them. Elf, classic. There's a dark elf. There's different kinds as well, but they're all the same. Like high elf, whatever.
And does the race we pick matter, Jack?
It actually does matter, Quinn. You see, the race gives you different bonuses. Let's say I'm playing as an elf. I can see very well in the dark. I can speak Elvish. And also, I get a boost to my intelligence and my charisma. So that means the different classes do different damage based on different skills. So an elf would be good for playing as a rogue or a wizard because they have high charisma and high intelligence, that's the damage base for those two classes.
And some races have their own special abilities too.
Yeah, like halflings. Halfling is like a half dwarf, half human sort of thing, and they start with this feat called Lucky, which lets you re-roll a dice one time a day or something. I don't know. It's pretty good.
Okay, so yeah, we got all these races: dwarf, elf, halfling, which is like a hobbit, human.
You can play as a human.
Yeah, we know humans.
We know them.
Dragonborn. It's a dragon man. Whoa.
Mm-hmm. A gnome is the smallest one. A small little gnome.
Tiny guy.
Yeah. Half elf, half human, half elf. Half orc, half human, half orc.
Light skin.
No. Tiefling. Here we have
it's like a demon.
Demon person.
Demon person
cool.
with a tail.
So there are all the races in the regular player's handbook. But if you go online, there's tons of other races to play as. You don't worry about this though. Okay, there's tons of other races to play as, and maybe look at it a little. Don't stress out about it too much. But there's turtle people, bird people called Aarakocra. They're sort of evil people.
So we know tons about this stuff, guys. We have other books with other races in them. We know a lot about it. So yeah, don't worry. We can definitely tell you about that stuff.
So yeah, there's tons. You can play as like a robot. That's called a Warforged. You can play as a full-on orc. You can play as sort of as there was like devil people. There's also like angel people called Asimar.
There's just tons.
A ton of races. So there's a ton of customizability here. Now the next thing that you can build your character off of is the classes, and this is what your job is sort of. So the classes are barbarian, which is like someone that has a big axe. A bard is someone that plays music. Cleric is someone that believes in God. A druid is someone that likes nature a lot. A fighter is someone that has a big axe.
Like a knight, yeah.
A monk is someone that punches. A paladin is like someone that believes in God and also has a big axe. A ranger is someone that shoots a bow and likes nature a lot. A rogue is someone that is sort of like a tricky little guy. A sorcerer. Okay, these three sound like the same thing at the bottom here. Sorcerer, warlock, and wizard. And in your brain, that's sort of like that's all. That's just a magician, right? But a sorcerer is someone that's born with their powers.
Like Harry Potter, kind of.
Yeah. A warlock is someone that makes a pact with like a deity, like a devil or something, and that's how they get their powers. And a wizard is someone that goes to school to get their powers. So that would be like Harry Potter.
Oh.
A sorcerer is someone that's born with the powers.
Like,
I don't know.
Someone cooler than Harry Potter.
But
anyways.
Yeah, and as I mentioned
so you
earlier,
have to pick one of these too. Yeah.
And there's more classes than this. There's also one called Artificer, which is someone that like builds robots and stuff, and the robots fight for you. And there's one called Blood Hunter. There's Gunslinger. There's a couple extra ones, but anyway.
These are the main ones, yeah.
Now, something else. Each class has a subclass that you pick when you hit level 3. So we're going to hit level 3 pretty fast. It's not a high level. And this is mainly what the interesting stuff is. So here we have a regular barbarian. And at level 1, you're just going to be like everyone's pretty much the same because everyone has a weapon and you don't have very much magic yet. But once you hit level 3, let's go somewhere easier to take a look. Like, let's go if you hit level 3 as a cleric. Oh wait, never mind, sorry, oops. Let's say you hit level 3 as a paladin.
So paladin. So what's a paladin again,
A
Jack?
paladin is sort of a knight, but they believe in God. So you
And
pick
they
your
do god magic,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Right. Like a cleric and a tank, and sort of you take a lot of damage. You can also do a lot of good
Here's
damage.
a cool sort of
Half orc paladin.
Yeah.
Anyways, so when you hit level 3, it says here Sacred Oath, and each class has its own way of saying this, but basically you pick a subclass.
Like a specialization kind of.
Exactly, yeah. So for the different ones, for a paladin is Oath of Devotion, and also Oath of the Ancients,
Here we go.
and Oath of Vengeance. But that's not all, because I have a bunch of other books that have other kinds. There's Oathbreaker, Oath of the Watchers. Oh, and each of these has their own cool-ass lore stuff. Like Oath of the Watchers is one that I'm playing as right now. I'm playing as a Warforged Oath of the Watchers Paladin. So it's this robot guy. And Oath of the Watchers is sort of like, if you see any sort of devil or angel, any extraplanar interference, you are like, it's your desire to kill them. And you want to, there's no interference allowed with Earth. So it's your job to like stop any interference. And there's a lot of cool lore between, let's go to an easy one, like Warlock. So I have a bunch of other books, and for a Warlock, you're picking a god or some sort of entity or some sort of demon to draw your powers from. So there's one in one of the books I have where it's like this sea warlock, and you get your powers from like a big octopus. And then, because you're getting your powers from a big octopus, you can do a bunch of octopus-based spells.
Yeah, so the subclass you pick sort of affects you get different abilities from that.
Okay.
Yeah, and
That's basically
that's the two things you want to see, sort of the race and the class.
And you can look at subclasses because it's a lot of fun, but don't worry about it too much because we're starting at level 1, so you're just going to be pretty standard. Don't worry about making any characters yet because we're going to do that as a group. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to roll up our stats. I'm not going to mention any stats things here because we're going to explain it in person. It's going to be easier.